Hi, Pipe Smokers. This is Paul Gilson, aka Paul the Pipe Guy, live from the outskirts of Rochester, New York, and it's freezing cold outside. And I'm actually in the crawl space of my home, smoking my K-Woody Model 500 bowl number. I can't see it. I think it says 2018, I think it says. So these K-Woody 500s were made between 1957 and 1969. And in it I've got some Scotty's Butternut Burley. Yeah. And you can see Kelly the cat. So the crawl space, it really isn't a crawl space. It's a basement. But it's only, I would say, probably 20 foot, it's probably 20 foot by 12 foot. I'd say 20 foot by 12 foot. And the ceiling joists are 5 foot high. The actual floor above me is my kitchen. So that floor, if I stood up, is just under 6 foot up. So you can't really stand up and walk around in here. You got to kind of stoop. You can't stand straight up. But I thought it would be a cool area, and how I discovered this area, I knew about it, but lately Callie, animals know things when something's not right. And lately she's had a fetish with water. So I'll bring home a case of 24 bottled waters, because we have well water here, so I don't drink the well water, even though you could. So I buy cases of bottled waters. Well, didn't that little critter, yeah, there she is back there, Kelly the killer calico cat, didn't that critter chew open every single bottled water? She took her little fangs and poked holes in all the sides and the top. I get up the next morning, the case, the plastic's all off of it, and I could see the little fang marks, like snake bite marks, and I looked at Kelly and I was like, did you do that? And she went over and started opening another one. So I can't, from now on, I don't know, then I tried it again and she did the same thing. So I can't keep a case of bottled water out in the kitchen without her doing that. So, and when I flush the toilet, she runs into the bathroom and has to jump up on the seat to watch the water go down. So she's had this thing with water. Well, I guess to get to the point, there's a small door opening, I would say about 4 foot by 4 foot. And what it does is it comes from that room, which is my bedroom, into this area here, which has the furnace and the hot water tank. Well, last night, about 8 o'clock, Callie was by that door and she was meowing. And I said, honey, what's up? We're very close, Kelly and I. What's going on in there? And I opened it up, and wouldn't you know it, there was 4 inches of water in here. Now we have a furnace and a hot water heater, and plus I have some various tools in here, and 4 inches of water in this area. What had happened was the stand-up sump pump had let go. But that cat knew something was wrong, and I don't know whether it was her infatuation with water or what. I find it strange. She's never done that. And if she hadn't been insistent that I look in here, I probably would have had, the whole basement would have filled up. And obviously the furnace would have shut off, and then with that happening, I would have probably found 3 feet of water down here. Interesting. So, there's storage shelves down here. The house was built in 1967. I do have some storage down here, like salt and sugar, which is actually, I'm looking at 10 pounds of sugar that I stored in, I had a food storage down here at one time. On October 4th of 2015, I put 10 pounds of sugar down here and wrapped. So, and I would say probably 6 pounds of salt, table salt, same date. And I find that quite interesting because that is almost 6.5 years ago. So I figured it'd be a cool spot maybe to do some videos and so forth. I know the pedaling piper, he's got his own little area, which I believe he said was in the attic, I believe. But clean the cobwebs up down here. I could have a nice little studio down here, really. It's the warmest room in the house in the wintertime because the furnace, this water is heated by a boiler. So this area is warm year-round. Well, not year-round, but it's warm in the wintertime, very warm. In fact, I have the heat set on 62, and I'm starting to sweat in my Carhartt jacket. It's got to be, I would say, about 80 degrees, maybe, at least 75. Might be a good place to start my seeds too for my garden. You know, get some hydroponics action going. You know, some artificial light. Because if I start my seeds, really what I want to eventually have is a greenhouse. But if I start my seeds on the kitchen table where the sun comes in, you know who back there, Callie the Killer Calico Cat, is going to have a heyday. I'm going to come home and find them all over the floor. I just know it. I know she's mischievous. I want to get one of those cameras that you can access by Wi-Fi. My daughter has one. I stopped over to see her and my grandson. Her husband-to-be is at work. They're getting married May 1st. A very hard-working young man. And I stopped over to see her, and she shows me her cell phone, and she's like, here's James. He's going to be 6 months old on the 28th. And she says, it tells me when he wakes up. What do you mean it tells you when he wakes up? I don't know, they have some motion detector or what, I don't know. Well, I kind of do know. And she showed me on the phone, and she actually talked into the phone and says, hi, baby. Technology, and the baby heard her voice, recognized it, had this big smile. I was like, I got to get one of them things so I can see what Callie's doing when I'm at work. And I could actually talk to the cat. She understands me when I talk to her. Believe it or not, animals do understand you. Right, Callie? So you were a good girl for finding all this water that now we have it draining. We bought an emergency sump pump last night, but it won't fit inside the hole correctly. So we're getting another one. The old stand-up version that was in there that crapped to bed. I think they even have, you could probably, with technology nowadays, purchase something and set it on the floor, and if it gets wet, it would go through your Wi-Fi and probably send a notification to your phone like, hey, your basement's flooding. I'm sure they have that technology. So I found a lot of interesting tools down here that when I moved from my other house, I didn't have a garage here 8 years ago when I moved here. So eventually I got a 12-foot by 16-foot by 10-foot Amish-built workshop, which is freestanding on the side of the house where a garage should be. And so that's my workshop. I need to get that organized when it gets warmer. and get these woodworking tools back up there because I'd want to start making things again. Quite honestly, what happened to me is I went through a separation with my wife, who I still love dearly. And so I had I turned the 20 by 20 foot garage into a beautiful workshop. Did it all up in knotty tongue groove boards. Insulated it. It was perfect. And of course that house got sold. I missed that very much. I had a 16-foot long workbench that I made with finished grade plywood. My kids all helped me build it. We wrote our names and everything on there. All that's left behind. So I guess you can't look back. And I drive by that house twice a day, on my way to work and on my way home, and I remember all the good memories. We bought the house in 1995, and sometimes I feel sad, but you have to move forward. My son and I, Paulie Jr., a couple of years ago built another workbench, but it's not 16 foot long, it's 8 foot long, out of finished grade plywood. It's beautiful. Put 5 coats of clear coat on it and sanded in between it. A lot of people might say, why would you do that for a workbench? Well, I like the grain of the wood and so forth. And if I do any metal work, I'll put something down on top of it. But it's a nice area in the summertime. You'll see it in the summertime because we'll do some videos out in my workshop. It's beautiful there in the summer. I was really blessed because, and I'm not bragging, but the workshop that I always wanted one, but they were $10,000. Now they're even more. And I did some work for a customer who was very wealthy, and I was like, wow, I wish I had something like this. I just can't afford it, though. I don't have a garage. And he says, geez, it's funny you mention that. He says, I want to buy a bigger one. He says, I was going to put this online for sale. I says, wow. I mean, and it's built well. It's not a garden shed. It's spacious. And to replace that right now new, with the cost of wood and everything going up, it'd probably be $10,000, $11,000. So the guy told me, he says, let me think about some things. Even before I got home, calls me up, and I waited till I got home. I don't talk on the phone in the truck. I called him back and he says, I was thinking, I really like you and I like the idea that you're working with your son and so forth. He says, I'll tell you what. The little job that you were going to do at my house, he says, you do that job and don't charge me. Now the retail price was about $700. And obviously you got to mark it up double because you're not going to make any money. So, it cost me about $300 to do the job, and I'm not bragging. And he says, you do that for free. I will have tomorrow this delivered to your house. And I was like, what do you mean? He says, well, I got a guy that's bringing one in. Okay, he's got another job in Greece. So when they're out here, they're only going to charge me $400 to ship it to you. They put them on big flatbeds. Basically, he paid to have it shipped here and everything, and it cost me $300. Basically free. What a blessing. I wanted a place where me and my kids can do projects and stuff like that. That's a huge blessing. Well, anyways, I'm not going to keep this video going forever. You'll see some progress being made down here, which, by the way, the Progressive Piper, formerly Aussie E Piper, might like the Progressive Piper. Yeah. Anyways, Paul the Pipe Guy, over and out.